Meanwhile, Kobe Bean Bryant may have retired from the NBA, but he is certainly not retired. On to the next one. Kobe announced Monday that he's forming a $100 million media tech and data fund. The venture, which is not open to outside investors, has already invested in 13 companies, according to the Wall Street Journal. Here's some of them, including the Players Tribune, video game designer Scopely, LegalZoom, VIP Kid, a company that provides a North American school experience to children in China, Chinese e-commerce company Alibaba, and apparel t-shirt company Represent. Max, the question is, who is going to be bigger in 5 years, Kobe or LeBron?
Good question. Kobe's going to be a mogul, by the way. This guy doesn't do things to fail. And by the way, he's become underrated as a player, Kobe Bryant, because these advanced metrics nowadays that grade all the players tend to underrate Kobe. I've heard a lot of smart basketball people say he's outside the top 10 all time. That's largely because his ISO game, you know, the ground shifted underneath Kobe's feet as he was playing and made what he did look less valuable. Kobe's one of the 10 greatest players ever. However, in 5 years, LeBron James is a bigger deal. In fact, LeBron James is a bigger deal right now, Stephen A. And that's mostly because he's actually the better player. Not only do the numbers all support that, all of them support that, except for certain counting numbers, which are not really that sophisticated. The sophisticated numbers all support LeBron. But also because of something that I want to talk about called the anxiety of influence. Now, there's a scholar, a Shakespearean especially scholar named Harold Bloom, who talks about the anxiety of influence, and I'll boil it down quickly. Every writer since Shakespeare has anxiety about being compared to Shakespeare. Okay? This is his thesis. Every player since Michael Jordan has anxiety about the comparison to Jordan. In fact, you see 7-footers facing the basket like Kevin Garnett and all these guys. You mean to tell me if Jordan never exists, they're all turning around and facing the basket? I think everyone wanted to be like Mike. And Kobe Bryant can tell you whatever he wants about number 24. 24 was one more than 23. He was aiming to do Jordan better than Jordan. And unlike everyone else, he got so close. He wasn't as good as Jordan, but boy, he was as close as could be. Same position, same height, same demeanor, same game, same moves, same everything, and he was almost as good, but not quite. That was the modern era. If Bird and Magic ushered in the modern era and Jordan was its apex, Kobe still existed as someone in the modern era and was a clone of Jordan. LeBron James represents the first postmodern player because he was the first guy to come along since Jordan. He wears 23, he's aware of Jordan, everything. I'm not trying to do Jordan. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm a hybrid of Jordan and Magic. I'm a something new. So not only was LeBron James, is LeBron James, by all the numbers, the better player, but his influence on the game will be different because he will stand out as an original, as the first player really in a new era, whereas Kobe, as amazing as he was, one of the top 10 players ever, one of the top 3 non-centers ever, essentially will be overshadowed in history by Jordan, who is the same thing, but first and a little bit better. The answer is LeBron.
I disagree with you in this respect. You think that LeBron is separate from Kobe and MJ. I think the thing that has held LeBron back from being even more adulated, even more celebrated, is the fact that he is lumped right into that category with them. When you think about LeBron James, you think about 3 championships, but you primarily also think about 4 NBA Finals losses, even though I don't count 2 of them against him. You think about that loss to the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals when he folded in 4 consecutive fourth quarters of an NBA Finals. And you said, that ain't Kobe, that ain't MJ. You think about Kobe in his prime, he was a killer. You think about MJ in his prime, he was a killer. LeBron James does things the right way. See the difference? There's a different comparison. And that little nuance resonates in the fabric of American sports culture, because when you shove all of this aside in terms of business and being the iconic figure and generating dollars for yourself and building your brand and doing all of these things, LeBron is clearly going to be bigger because he's at a bigger advantage. The advent of social media in the prime of his career, how that's facilitated him doing so many of the things that he does on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram and beyond, being able to put your own message out there, to do the things that you do. And you're also doing it at the height of the NBA's, celebrity. They are a global, iconic brand in the world. The NBA is one of the top two globalized brands in the world in all of sports, whatever sport you want to pick. LeBron James is a benefactor of that. MJ is one who elevated it to that point. Kobe is one who took it to another level. It was Kobe that was with the crew in 2008 at the games in Beijing, literally talking to them about being businessmen and not just basketball players. It was Kobe whose voice you heard with the NBA lockout when everybody was talking about how the players needed to take less, and Kobe was adamantly opposed to that and refused to take less, like a Tim Duncan and others ultimately did, because he talked about the money that it put in a player's pocket, and in an owner's pocket, as opposed to a player. It was Kobe who set merchandise sales records in his last game of his career when he dropped 60 at the Staples Center when I was there in April. It was Kobe who did all of that with Mamba out, and then you got the T-shirts. So you got Kobe Inc., which he started in 2014. You got this company who he's partnered with an individual with in terms of his investment funds. You've got all of that going on. Kobe Bryant is not going to be bigger than LeBron because LeBron has learned from some of the best and is now taking it to another level at the time that it is right to do so. Whereas in Kobe's case, he's defying odds, elevating himself to another level, and fighting for the time, figuratively speaking, off the court with the things that he is doing, which is a sensational thing on his part.
Stephen A., even internationally, though, you don't think Kobe will be bigger than LeBron?
Well, I think Kobe has
his portfolio is.
Well, let me say this to you: he has the potential. I'm not saying that those aren't extraordinary things. I'm saying we don't know all the things that LeBron James is doing. We don't know all the things that LeBron James plans on doing, and LeBron James is still current because he is a player. Kobe, where he comes in and he resonates exponentially. Kobe speaks 3 languages fluently. Kobe sits up there and does interviews in Spanish. Kobe speaks Italian. Kobe goes to he's doing business in China and encourages other players to do all of these things. So these are the kind of things that he brings to the table. In the end, what I'm saying is, if you want to say that LeBron James is going to be bigger, it's because LeBron James is still current because he's playing. He's still current because he's a champion, and he can learn from a pathway that has been set for him and elevate it to another level.
I also think part of this, and we don't pay enough attention to it, because it starts to kind of seep out into the general culture, is how good you were. That actually has an effect. And if you talk about starting with Jordan, once Jordan was gone, it was Olajuwon for a couple of years only, but then the next real figure was Shaq. Then it was Kobe, and then LeBron. But Kobe's reign, when Shaq started to tail off, and then, yeah, he was better than Duncan, but Duncan had his adherents. Unlike, like when Jordan was at his best, it was Jordan. When Shaq was at his best, everyone said Shaq. Kobe never really had universal recognition for an extended period as the best player in the game. Kobe also, in his 5 championships, was arguably, and probably you win that argument, the second best player on 3 of the 5 championships. LeBron James was so clearly the best player on either team for so many of those championships, always on his team, that he should have won MVP 2 years ago on a losing team.
We have to go.
We do.
But the bottom line is this. There was a 5-year period, and in the midst of those 5 years, there was no doubt who the best player in the game was, and it was Kobe Bryant.
I think there was a doubt from LeBron, actually, pretty early on.
He can doubt all he wants to. He's smoking something, too. Because during that period...
I agree. In retrospect, it wasn't, but that influences the way people think about you.
We got to go to break, because we're talking about guys arguably the greatest at their craft, and we have a guy joining us who is arguably the greatest at his craft. The one, the only, I can't believe it, Robert De Niro here in the flesh on First Take in Bristol, Connecticut. So fired up to talk to him about his new movie, Hands of Stone. That is next.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? So excited.
Hi.
How are we doing?
Hi.
Our next guest, he's the definition of an A-lister, an Academy Award-winning actor who starred in over 100 films, including Hands of Stone, which is in theaters this Friday, where he plays Roberto Duran's legendary trainer, Ray Arcel. We welcome Robert De Niro to the show, and it is such an honor to have you here. You have no idea. Thank you so much.
Clap or something.
I know, seriously. So thank you so much for coming up to Bristol. Robert, what drew you to this project?
Well, I met Jonathan. He wanted to do the story. I liked him. I saw the movie he had done before, and I just got involved, and that was it. and it took a long time to get the movie made because it was supposed to be done in Puerto Rico with money from the Middle East, and that all fell through. So then I said, why don't you just call the Panamanian, get in touch with the Panamanian government, tell them you have Durant behind the project, let them get some well-to-do Panamanians, give them tax breaks, and let them put money into da-da-da. So that's what they did, and that's how it should have been, really. The location, the whole thing, the actual gym where Durant trained, Edgar Ramirez trained there, and we shot scenes there. So and it's unique. I mean, so we were lucky that we went in that direction.
What was the hook of Ray Arcel, the character of Ray Arcel for you?
Well, he wasn't the usual trainer. He was more like an intellectual. He was more cerebral. He had heart, but I mean, he was just a guy who I met him once, maybe twice, when I was working on Raging Bull, and I was impressed with the way he just carried himself, the whole thing. It was not like, not, as I say, like a typical trainer that I've seen. And he had over 20 champions. And so it was something that I wanted to do. You know? Easy to decide that. You know?
I'm looking at your career, and it's amazing. I've always obviously been an incredible fan, and you've been acting since the early 60s, for crying out loud. I'm wondering what keeps you going, what excites you in this day and age about doing what you do?
I enjoy, you know, sometimes at the beginning you don't want to get up to speed, but I felt that way 30 years ago with certain movies, and then once I'm in it, you know. You're in it, and you want the thing to be as good as it can be, the scene, and so that's it.
Is there anything that you pinpoint from your acting at this stage and point in your career that, you know, you say, this is why I get up and do this every day? This is what do you find most enjoyable about what you're doing right now?
Well, if the scene is well written, or even if it's well conceived, and we're working it through, even if all the dialogue is not totally written out yet, and the director understands that, it's, you know, and the nicest thing is to see that the scene ultimately works after you've shot it and it's been put together. And then even nicer is that the movie has some semblance of working, and so on. So, and I liked, Jonathan has a way of, we would shoot scenes, do the dialogue, and then he'd let the camera just keep rolling, and we would just sort of add stuff. But that's kind of like a gravy situation, and something could come out of that, which would be good. And it gives you a certain freedom, and you can always cut it out or use a part of it.
What do you think it is about you that, I mean, I remember a movie with Meryl Streep, I think it was called Falling in Love.
Yes.
But, and Bertolucci's 1900, you weren't playing tough guys in those movies.
No.
So it's not that you only play tough guys, but a lot of the roles that you're most well known for are tough guys. Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Godfather Part 2. What is it, Once Upon a Time in America? What is it about you, do you think, that gets you cast as that or leads you to those roles even?
I don't know. I mean, I guess in some ways I do them well with zest, but they're fun to do. I like them. We're doing a similar movie, like Scorsese and I, based on a book called I Heard You Paint Houses. I mean, now it's titled The Irishman. I don't know what it'll finally be titled as. But again, it's that world, but it's a world that I like doing from time to time. And that's it.
Robert, I don't know if you know this, but you have an actor sitting right next to you.
Lord.
I know.
He's starring in soap. He hasn't made it to blockbuster films yet.
Please don't do this
but
to me.
He is at soap operas. General Hospital. He has
acted
a
in
recurring
movies,
role. We just want to show you a little bit of a clip of this and
okay.
kind of get your thoughts here, if you could break it down, because Stephen A. has really embraced this new career path. If you could just see this right here.
Oh, Lord.
It's Stephen A. as Brick. We don't have the sound of it, but if you could just, even just looking at the body language expressions, what is it? What exactly are you playing?
I don't need it. I'm playing a character by the name of Brick. I'm a surveillance expert for the mob, Mr. De Niro.
Any tips?
That's what
Any
I
tips
am.
for him?
I don't know why we don't have the sound, but that's neither here nor there. I'm glad we don't, because it would give me more room to be critiqued. I don't need any more. I don't need any more room, sir. Trust me on that. He's still looking. You don't have to look.
No, he's going to help you. He wants to see you succeed.
Oh,
in
my
this career.
goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Well, it looks pretty good to me. You know?
We didn't have the sound because we didn't want to embarrass you too much, Stephen.
Thank you so much.
What would
we were
Stella
looking
Adler
at-
say about that scene?
Oh, God, what's your reaction? But, you know, I have to tell you something. I saw the scene before, and I saw the dialogue. I heard the dialogue. It was good. You did a good job. Wow. I couldn't complain.
Any
I don't know
tips
where
for him?
Hold on.
Just keep on hanging in there, kid.
I need tissue. I need tissue. This is a very touching moment for me. Thank you so much. You know,
Just don't be disappointed. Don't give up.
Yeah,
That's
keep
right.
auditioning.
Don't be disappointed. Don't give up. I'll keep up. I'll keep plugging. I want to ask you because when you were doing this film, you know, he's obviously the man when it comes to boxing, but I'm a huge boxing fan. And thinking about Roberto Duran, what did you peel from doing this movie about him and what he went through, what he endured? You know, the whole no mas thing and everything else. That's what we think about when we think about Roberto Duran, and he knows better than me, but he's one of the greatest fighters ever. But we think no mas. When we think, what did you get from being down there, how everybody feels about him in this day and age in light of everything that transpired?
I think Roberto is okay. He's doing okay. You know, he bounced back pretty well, all in all, and he's got a great energy, great joie de vivre, if you will, and he's a very likable person. And you know, it was something that happened, unfortunate as it was, but you know, his life, I think, has been full, and everybody still respects him as a great fighter. You can't take that away from him, no matter what he did. He took the, for whatever the reasons are. He said that he didn't say no mas, or this and whatever, you know.
Yeah, it was no mas stuff. It was no mas. There's no question.
How do you separate yourself? Because you got to find, if you're playing Ray Arcel, this is Roberto Duran's trainer, for those who are interested,
That's right.
who trained him for a big portion of his career through the no mas fight, but then not after that. And you have to have a point of view about that. And your character obviously was so disgusted that he walks away from Roberto Duran. And this is a guy who I don't want to give too much of the movie away. It's
Right.
based on a true story, but you know, went up against the mob in a sense years before he had handled Duran. How do you how does that affect your own judgment of Roberto Duran when you're playing a character who has such a strong point of view, and you got to find that as an actor, I imagine.
Say that.
So how do you feel about Duran? Does it color the way you feel about it because you're playing a guy who felt so strongly about no mas?
No, I mean, I'm playing a character, and I'm taking Ray Arcel's position, which there are many parts of me that can understand his position, and plus he's a great character, one that's easy to respect and like, so that was, and also feel the disappointment that when Duran did say, or did walk away from the fight, you know, it was a devastating thing for him, but it doesn't take away how much he cared about Duran and how much Duran cared about him and everything else, the respect he had for Duran.
I want to ask you, Usher's in this film, obviously, and fabulous music artist. As a person that has obviously perfected your craft and is considered one of the elite in this industry, what are your thoughts about whether it's a musician, whether it's, you know, an athlete, whether it's a daggone talk show host, trying to do the kind of things that you guys do as actors? As an elite actor, what is an actor's opinion about those trying to come into your genre?
You mean other actors?
Yes. I'm talking about people trying to be wannabes, not other actors.
I always say anybody wants to be an actor, you should try it. I mean, I had a friend who was in his 30s and changing his whole life, and he was in the business world and so on. And I said, well, try it. You know, I'll help you in sort of recommending people you can talk to. But you just have to have the will. If you want to do it, you do it. In a real sense, you get little parts, and you know, around your actual day job, you know, a night thing or an off Broadway type thing. You do it if you really want to do it. If you're not sure, if you think you're going to become successful at it, you're going to get a career out of it, then don't do it.
That's
you know,
right.
that happens if you're lucky, but don't do it for those reasons. Do it because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's all that you can get.
I can only imagine the grind and commitment to be successful in that field and level of competition. Robert De Niro, this was such a treat. Thank you so much. I'm sure you love being here in Bristol, Connecticut, but we appreciate you. Dance of Stone in theaters Friday. We will be checking it out, so we look forward to that. Enjoy your time here.
Thank you. Thank you.